Okay, so for this segment, we're going to be going over respirator fit testing and the qualitative fit test. So first off, what is a respirator fit test? Why is it required? And why has it been added under the revised worker protection standards? So first off, it's to ensure that respirators are providing the intended protection. So if you can imagine that a respirator is like these goggles here, all right? If you don't have an adequate seal on your face, your goggles are going to fill up with water. But in the case of respirators, obviously you're not going to know whether or not you have that protection. Okay, so the respirator fit test will let you know if you do or not. Additionally, respirators may place a physiological burden on the wearer. Okay, if you have any heart abnormalities or heart conditions, lung conditions, it could be an undue burden on that person. Not necessarily just for pesticide applications. There are a lot of other industries who require their employees to wear respirators if you're in construction or manufacturing. So you might actually be doing activities that could increase your heart rate. It might be, a more physical activity than just making a pesticide application. And all other industries require these protections. So we're just bringing pesticide applications up to the OSHA standards. So the fit testing is only the second step of 3 that are now required, again, in the worker protection standards for the respirator requirements and record keeping. There's first off a medical evaluation that is required before you can have the fit test. And then finally, the respirator training, which is required annually to make sure that all of your employees know how to maintain their respirators, how to keep them clean, how to change their cartridges, so on. So what is the medical clearance? This is required for all types of respirators, not just your tight-fitting respirators, but loose-fitting respirators as well. Again, you want to make sure that your workers and handlers are physically capable of wearing a respirator. So this must be done at no cost to the employee. Your employer must take in all of these charges that may be incurred for this medical clearance and fit test. Also, the OSHA questionnaire that they need to fill out, all of these responses are confidential. Your employer should by no means have access to the answers on this sheet. The only thing that your employer needs to know is whether or not you pass or fail the test, or whether additional evaluation is required. So the medical clearance is only going to be required once unless the medical problems arise or the fit test indicates a need for reevaluation. So if you go to your physician and they say, okay, we have a slight red flag here, you might have some minor heart conditions or something, you might have claustrophobic tendencies, something like that, they might say, okay, we want to see you every 6 months, okay? If there aren't any red flags off, then just once is going to be sufficient. So the medical clearance, again, this is an OSHA info sheet here that these are the standard questions that need to be submitted. This can be taken to your physician or a licensed medical professional. You also have the option of doing this medical clearance online. So 3M is one company who will offer this online, where you can have your employees log in, fill out the questionnaire, again, confidentially, and on the other end of this questionnaire, a medical professional will go through and either accept your evaluation or say that you need more medical clearance. So some limitations to wearing respirators. Again, if you have lung disease, even vision problems while wearing a respirator, claustrophobia, facial abnormalities. If you have scars or something, maybe you had a bad burn, anything that might hinder that respirator from sealing to your face, you might not be able to wear a respirator. What's another thing that might hinder a respirator from adhering to your face? Lint. All right, if you have facial hair, you will not be able to wear a tight-fitting respirator. You will have to wear a loose-fitting respirator. There is no way you will ever get an adequate seal. So Chuck Norris cannot wear a tight-fitting respirator. So once you've had your medical clearance and it's been established that you're physically able to wear a respirator, then you have to go and have your respirator fit tested. This is required annually, for all tight-fitting respirators where required by the pesticide label. So what does that mean? So there are going to be some situations where you might have handlers who voluntarily want to wear a respirator. Okay, if that pesticide does not require a respirator by law and that they just want to wear one for their additional protection, they don't have to go through the medical clearance, fit testing, and annual training. Okay, they don't fall under WPS for voluntary use of respirators, only where it's required by label. Okay, so again, the fit testing must follow the medical clearance. You have to establish that they're medically able to wear the respirator before they do the fit test. Then the fit test must be conducted with the same make, model, and style of the respirator that worker or handler is going to be wearing out in the field. Additionally, if they're going to be wearing different respirators for different purposes or different pesticides, they have to be fit tested for each respirator. Okay, and this does include the dust mist respirators, which are now called the particulate face piece respirators up here. You can't really see it with the sun coming through. So the fit test is not going to be required for the power air purifying respirators because those aren't tight fitting, only the tight fitting. So what is the purpose of a fit test? Again, it's to ensure that the respirator is providing you with the intended protections. So that during the fit test, you're going to be doing things that might mimic activities you would do during an application. So each test is to be performed for 1 minute, including breathing normally, deep breathing, turning your head side to side. Again, just motions or activities that you would do while wearing that applicator, making an application. A rainbow passage is basically you're just speaking for 1 minute, and a rainbow passage is provided in the fit test manual. It's basically like you're singing a song. The grimace for 15 seconds is where you're like making a funny face. So, right. So for the fit test, there are 2 different types of fit tests. There's the qualitative fit test and the quantitative fit test. I have an example of the qualitative fit test here, which you're welcome to take a peek at over the lunch break if you'd like. So the qualitative is going to be relatively inexpensive when compared to the quantitative fit test. This 3M kit, which Adam purchased for us, was about $278. The test is relatively easy to perform. You don't have to be, a trained or licensed person to be able to perform this. You just have to be able to mix the solutions and use the nebulizers and basically read the procedures. This test does rely on the user's ability to detect the test agent. So strangely enough, I've got some of the banana stuff. If you'll pass those around. The 4 test agents that you're able to use are the banana oil, saccharin or a sugar solution, which you would taste, Bitrex, which is bitter tasting, and then there's also a smoke irritant. But those last 2 kind of seem cruel. So we've just used the saccharin solution and the banana oil. But again, not everyone is able to detect these particular solutions. So before you start the fit test, you need to make sure that that person can actually sense it without the respirator on. So again, I've got the banana oil going around so you can see how potent it is. Okay, the quantitative fit test, on the other hand, requires a lot more expensive equipment to purchase. This is going to be in the thousands of dollars range, okay? Typically, it's not something that you're going to purchase and use for your employees unless you have a really large outfit or greenhouse where you're going to be testing, hundreds of employees. This requires special equipment and trained person to utilize this. Basically, you have a probe that goes inside the face of your respirator, and it measures the concentration of a test solution from the ambient temperature, or the ambient air versus the air inside your mask. Okay, so this is going to be much more accurate than the qualitative. What's something else you have to assume when you're using the qualitative fit test? You've got to assume that the person that you're testing is actually telling you the truth. Okay, say somebody really wants a job, All right, they might not say, okay, yes, I detect the agent. So you're just assuming that they're being honest with you. All right, the other option is to send your workers and handlers to a hospital or medical clinic where they can perform the fit test for you. Okay, there's hospitals, occupational health clinics. There's locations throughout Ohio. If you just Google respirator fit testing, a lot of clinics and things will pop up. But we also have some locations available on our PestEd website where you can just click on the little purple dot and it will tell you their information and location. One of the benefits of going to have a quantitative fit test done is a lot of these locations will have many types of respirator models for you to use and try to find the right one that fits your face. A lot of these providers can go ahead and do the medical evaluation in conjunction with the fit test. And when you do that, you typically get a better deal. Usually you can have the medical clearance and fit test done for about $35 to $50. So it's not too expensive. So I don't believe so. As long as you've got the medical clearance on file, the fit test, you've got to make sure you just have records of everything. So it doesn't matter if it's done in another state. Okay. Again, so you want to keep the records that one, you had your medical clearance, you've had your fit test done, and that your employees have had the annual training required, again, to make sure that they know how to use the respirator, how to clean it, change the cartridges, etc. So with that, I think I have a video for you. I'm not quite up to the level of Studio 149, but at any rate, you should be able to get the gist of the qualitative fit test.
While definitely fewer than in the past, some pesticide applications still require the applicator to wear a respirator. The Worker Protection Standard is a set of federal regulations that is designed to limit pesticide exposure in agricultural workers and pesticide handlers. Respirator fit testing is a new WPS annual requirement that will ensure the respirators actually do the job they are intended to do. Fit test is a method used to select a respirator that provides the applicator with an adequate level of protection. Test is a procedure that's performed on the respirator wearer while they are wearing the respirator mask. When a test kit is used, a hood is placed over the person wearing the mask, and a sensory test agent is introduced with an atomizer or nebulizer under the hood. In this case, we are using saccharin. During the procedure, the wearer carries out a series of exercises, such as bending over and speaking a passage, that are designed to mimic the kinds of activities a pesticide applicator might make while applying. If the respirator fits properly, the wearer will not be able to detect the test agent, and in this case, will pass the test. If at any time the wearer detects the test agent, the test has failed. The mask may need to be adjusted or tightened, and the test may be repeated. In some cases, the mask may be too large, too small, or constructed in a manner that will never fit the applicator's face. In this case, another mask must be selected. Growers have the option to purchase a test kit like this shown in the video. Rather than purchasing your own kit, it might be a better or simpler option to find a local safety company or occupational health clinic in a local hospital that offers fit testing. You can test several models before you purchase one to find the best fit, so you aren't stuck with a respirator that cannot be properly fit to your face. Facial hair can cause problems with proper respirator fitting. It may be necessary to wear a full face respirator with some facial hair. Always perform a seal check to determine if you're getting the proper protection. In the event that an applicator has facial hair that interferes with a proper face-to-face piece seal, a tight-fitting respirator is no longer permitted, and a powered air purifying respirator will be required to ensure adequate protection. In addition to annual fit tests, the Worker Protection Standards also require an initial medical evaluation to determine if you are medically fit to wear a respirator. You are also required to have annual training in respirator care and use, along with keeping records for respirator compliance. A medical evaluation may typically only require the wearer to fill out an online survey, but with some health conditions, additional follow-up may be necessary. So to be confident that you are being protected while wearing a respirator, fit test annually. For more information on WPS requirements and respirator use, Visit the Pesticide Safety Education Program website at pested.osu.edu.
That's it on respirators. Any quick questions before we have Studio 149 show me up on their video skills?